Hi class, I'm going to talk to you about assignment for week 3. We're on Romans 2 this week. Much of it is something you saw in the assignment for week 2. And I want to remind you that you should answer in 3 complete sentences for each question, and that you should have APA format, which includes Times New Roman 12 font and double space. For the first part of the assignment, you will give titles to the following paragraphs in chapter 2 of Romans. They should be observable, associative, memorable, personal, and between 3 to 5 words. If you get longer than 3 to 5 words, you really can't remember them, and that's part of why you're giving them a title, is so that you can remember them. If you are a preacher, then you can summarize what comes before and what's after a passage that you're preaching from in those 3 to 5 words for those you're preaching to or for those you're teaching. So that's part 1 of the assignment. 3 to 5 word titles. The verses are outlined in the assignment. So the first thing you give a title to is verses 1 through 5. Then part 2, you want to start looking for how the part of the books relate together. And there's an example from Mark 3 in the assignment. But I want you to look and see if you can see 2 ways that Romans 2 connects to each other. Is there a contrast that's present? Is there a cause and effect that's present, or a reason and a cause that's present? Is there some word or phrase that's repeated a lot of times? Those are all structural relationships. They're literary ways that the book is tied together. And then it asks you to identify 2 of them, to tell the verse where you found it. That's so that I can know what you saw and what you were seeing. If there's any kind of clue word that gives you a relationship idea, for example, if you see the word but, it usually indicates contrast. If you see the word therefore, it indicates cause and effect, or effect and cause. If you see finally, it would indicate summarization, and that's probably not going to be seen in chapter 2 of a book, just because that wouldn't be where you would summarize something. Then you want to see how it relates. So if you have a contrast, you want to say the 2 contrasting elements are, and how does that help you understand what it is that you're reading about. And then it asks you to look at the Bauer textbook to assist you in identifying the structural relationships. Next, you're to look at some key passages. So which verses in Romans 2 are key to understanding the whole chapter. And then you need to tell why you think that they are key passages and how Bauer's book helped you in doing that. Then in part 4, you're to look at non-routine terms. The example that is given from Mark is the word commanded, because it's a word that's not usually used in Mark's gospel. So what does the word commanded mean? In the book of Romans, you'll see some non-routine terms like justify, righteousness, righteousness by faith, grace, mercy. Any of those would be non-routine terms. In chapter 1, a non-routine term that also recurs is God gave them over. So the recurrence is of the phrase God gave them over, and the term that's non-routine is God gave them over. So then you ask questions about what does that mean. You can get this from a Bible dictionary, an encyclopedia, or a word study. Just don't go to a regular dictionary to do it. And then tell how they fit in. And then there's some questions about tracing the thought of Romans 2, 1 through 16, and 3 principles of judgment. So there's an example: those not qualified to judge error, those guilty of the same thing. So what are the main emphases in chapter 2 of Romans? What does the text mean to the biblical audience, and what does it mean to us today? And what is a major theological principle of the chapter? Then after you've done all that, you look in the commentary, which is the book, the other book, not Bauer and Trina, but the other book that you have for your class on Romans, and read the section on Romans 2, and then discuss how your answers differed from the answers that the commentator found. Did you agree in spots? If you did, then say why. And if you disagreed, then say why. And what is something new that you learned from the commentary? So I hope this helps you understand the assignment for week 3. I'll be grading week 2 assignments on Saturday again and using the rubric, and you can find the rubric under the course documents. It's there for you to see what I'm grading on. So it helps you know if you have to adjust your time that you need to spend on something, which is worth more points and which is worth less points. It also shows you the things I'm looking at for the APA format. So you want to make sure that you use that. Be sure to include a reference. Be sure your title page is right. I'm really excited about the discussions we've been having, and I look forward to the one this week. And I'll be posting something on the discussion board about how I'm looking for the question to be answered this week. Thanks a lot, and have a great day and a good week.